In episode 79, iPiffle on what is the real root of all the evil in the world. Contrary to popular myth, money is not the root of all evil. Rather, it is a byproduct of man's greed. The actual root cause of all the evil in the world, as well as the root cause of all the suffering in the world, and most assuredly the root cause of all the misery in the world, is parenthood. And if you believe in the Old Testament, then it is God who is ultimately the root cause of all the evils in the world. Because if you choose to believe what is written in the Bible, it was God who created the first man and woman, gave them the ability and an innate desire to procreate, and then doomed mankind to exist in his fallen world. Following the world's creation, it was Adam and Eve who parented the successive generations, resulting in the continuation of man's misfortunes. As their parents, Adam and Eve are just as responsible for Abel's death as was Cain. They came together to bear children and are therefore responsible for bringing the murderous Cain into this world. Not only that, but they were unable to protect their youngest son from being murdered by his older brother. Even for those individuals who do not necessarily take the Bible literally, they must also realize that it is parents who perpetuate man's suffering by conceiving children into this world. It is parents who must bear the burden of man's suffering and his continuing inhumanity. Considering the Holocaust as an example, it was parents who gave birth to the evil Nazis who committed untold atrocities upon the Jews. But it was also the parents of the Jewish victims who placed their offspring into the situation whereby they would be forced to suffer some of the greatest horrors known to man. Suppose you have a beloved 16-year-old daughter who was attacked, savagely raped, and then strangled to death by a deranged individual. There are several ways you could deal with this loss. You could take matters into your own hands and murder your daughter's killer in cold blood, or you could instead let the justice system handle the case. Now suppose your daughter's killer is convicted and placed on death row. You might be so inclined to request a front row seat at his execution, or perhaps your religious faith might lead you to believe that your daughter's brutal death was all part of God's plan, and so you might forgive her assailant. Even if your daughter's killer is convicted and sentenced to death, you might speak out and request that his sentence be commuted. Why would any sane, rational human being even consider involving God in this heinous crime? No all-powerful and benevolent God would ever make a plan that would permit this or any other type of violence against a minor child to occur. If you feel the need to blame anyone else other than your daughter's killer, then perhaps you should look to yourself. After all, just as the parents who bore your daughter's assailant into this world, you are equally responsible for having conceived your innocent daughter into this world knowing full well what the perils are. And as her parent, you proved to be woefully inadequate and were unable to protect her. This is a bit harsh, to be sure. It is also a hard truth to have to face, but it is an undeniable fact of life. In all situations, parents must bear the responsibility for the lives of their children and all the generations to follow, and no human being who is born into this world gets off unscathed. Thank you for listening. I hope you will join me in my next video.